Hey everybody,
Nice.
welcome to Britpop's Reaction Review. If you aren't and BP2.
Oi, oi.
Well, hello, we're back with some information.
Oh,
Video
good.
today.
Yeah, I like these.
We haven't done one for a while. Why the US Navy really needs this one forest in Indiana? One forest. Why would the Navy want that? This is brought to us, our attention, by the lovely Amanda.
Hi,
Thank you,
Amanda. Yeah. Thank you for popping over to buymeacoffee.com/BritpopsReact and requesting this one of many. Always great to get your information videos. Again, something we would never have found. Why would the Navy need a forest? Okay, let's find out. Why would they need a forest?
I don't know.
Location for telecommunications, something like that. Satellites. Interesting. Radar.
Need a forest.
So this comes from what? Half as interesting.
Depends on how old it is, because
Yeah.
I remember when boats used to be built out of wood, they used to have specific forests.
Galleons.
But we don't really do that anymore.
No,
we don't build wooden boats.
We've moved on a bit since then.
Let's find out anyway.
All right, let's go. Yeah, bit of a thinker, this one.
Let's do it.
When I say the United States Navy, what do you think of? Boats? Little outfits? The military-industrial complex? What about a 53,000-acre forest in Indiana? Well, start thinking about it because it exists, and it's here at the world's third largest naval installation, Naval Support Activity Crane. It's there so that the Barnacle Boys can do repairs on exactly one boat, conveniently located here in nearby Boston. And if you're wondering on what planet the Navy managing a whole forest to repair exactly one boat is the best solution to anything, well aboard, we're setting sail on a pithy but effective explanation. The exactly one boat in question is this one, the USS Constitution, currently afloat here. She was launched into Boston Harbor at 12:15 p.m. on October 21st, 1797, making her both the oldest still floating, still commissioned naval ship in the world and a Libra. She's also a strong-willed, work-oriented Capricorn rising, making her a huge asset to the young US Navy, winning a decisive battle against the HMS Guerriere during the War of 1812. The story goes that the Constitution's 22-inch wide hull was so strong that the British cannonballs just bounced off the sides, prompting someone very clever to yell, "Huzzah! Her sides are made of iron," which landed her the nickname Old Ironsides, even though, huzzah, her sides are not made of iron, they're made of white oak. And Old Ironsides is really old, 225 years, though she doesn't look it. That's because she gets frequent repairs and replacement parts, including new white oak planks for her sides. But during a restoration in 1973, they got worried because there wasn't much white oak left. And you can't just sub some other wood because white oak is, on a cellular level, better than just about any other at making boaty floaty. To understand why, we're going to tree school. No, not preschool, tree school. Thank you. Welcome to tree school.
Nice.
This is a tree. In the trunk of this tree, there are two types of wood, sapwood and heartwood. If a tree's alive, the sapwood is alive. It sends water and nutrients up and down through little hollow tubes like this one, which is called a xylem, a 5-letter word worth a near miraculous 17 points in Scrabble. Each year, a fresh new ring grows on the outer edge of the sapwood, and the innermost sapwood ring retires into the heartwood to die. Put another way, the heartwood is a tree's Florida. In many trees, including red oak, when a ring turns into heartwood, it gets pretty susceptible to fungus or bacteria or whatever wants to crawl up through the xylems and wreak havoc. But it's a different story in the white oak. When a ring of white oak sapwood turns into heartwood, it develops things called tylocies, basically teeny-weeny corks that plug up the xylems. Whether the tree is standing or the wood's in boat mode, these tylocies provide rot resistance, stopping nefarious things from crawling through the xylem to infect the wood, and also water tightness, as they stop water from leaking through these naturally occurring pores. So obviously, this wood is good for boat stuff. It's also used for wine barrels, bourbon barrels, railroad ties, basically anywhere you don't want your wood to rot and or for liquids to pass through. But it also grows extremely slowly versus red oaks and other comparable woods. You can harvest a red oak when it's about 80 to 100 years old, but white oaks tend to go until 150 to 200. By the time they were doing that USS Constitution restoration in '73, the country's old-growth white oak supply was pretty low and not coming back quickly. That's the exactly one boat half of things, but how did the US Navy come to maintain an entire forest in the first place, let alone to repair exactly one boat? And why is it in Indiana? After all, the only waterborne threat to Indiana is wayward Chicagoans whose architecture crews took a wrong turn, and you don't need the Navy to deal with them. Well, as it turns out, the Navy bought this land to store munitions during World War II on the assumption that if anyone dropped a bomb on the US, it probably wouldn't be in the middle of Indiana. An F-tier state that isn't even worth the bomb it would take to destroy it. But the land didn't take well to being built on, and after a lot of erosion, the Navy hired a forester to reforest it and take care of it in the 50s. Over time, one forester in Crane became a whole forestry and natural resources program that had the
Go on.
Is this a fat electrician?
No.
It sounds very much like him.
Yeah, no, it's not. No, this is half as interesting.
He hasn't got another YouTube channel, has he?
No.
That sounds, where he doesn't sweary as much, but it sounded very much like him in some of those.
He's not quick enough. The fat electrician's quicker.
Yeah,
I think speed-wise.
So you were pretty right, mate, at the beginning to maintain.
Well, that's what I guess
boats.
where it's. Yeah, you're right. Actually, I just didn't expect.
I think they've gone a bit overboard with how much they sort of intend to use on one boat. But if ever the need arises to make another flotilla of them, they've got enough trees there.
Well, I suppose the problem is it takes 150 years to grow. You know, and I suppose if you want that longevity and you want it to be exactly how it's always been, then
you need a decent stock of it, don't you? And again, you know, I mean, imagine. Okay, let's just go back a couple hundred years. A couple of 100 years when all the type of boats that you had were those kind of flotillas of USS Constitutions and all those things. How many trees must have been ravaged to make them all? And, you know, then when we went to war with everybody and decided that we're going to go around the world and try and take everybody on, the amount of ships that, you know, just Britain made at the time. Devastating. Them, you know, the forestation must have just been depleted, just building them and repairing them as they went out. So, unbelievable. What was it, 250 hectares or something?
Yeah. Pretty extraordinary, you know, not acres, hectares.
No,
yeah,
that's a lot.
It is a lot. Yeah, it is a lot. No, it's really interesting. It's interesting to see and the preservation and everything. So, all right, let's keep going.
Navy managing trees, etc. in several timber forests. And of these, Crane became the most profitable and sustainable, so you can put that up on the list of worthwhile things about Indiana. So back to the USS Constitution. Seeing the lack of old-growth white oak supply during the 1973 restoration, Navy Captain Vernon P. Clem, whose name was my favorite in the story until I realized these pictures were taken by a guy named Bill Couch, suggested that the Navy should start growing their own white oak to supply future Constitution repairs. And in 1976, they designated 150 trees across their very successful forest in Crane to be grown, maintained, and harvested to repair the USS Constitution. So now, when it's replace the planks of clock at Charleston Navy Yard, 3 civilian foresters at Naval Support Activity Crane handpick which trees get harvested. In 2012, ahead of a restoration that would go from 2015 to 2017, those 3 examined 70 of the 150 trees and selected 35 that were ready for plankage. They cut them down during February 20th and 21st of 2014 because during other parts of the year, the endangered Indiana bat lives in Crane's white oaks, and you can't
Indiana bat.
They stored and dried out the wood in Crane before shipping it out to Boston to get Bodie, and continue looking after the rest of the forest ecosystem after to make sure they'll have healthy white oaks ready next time they're needed. And that's how the Navy manages an entire forest to repair exactly one boat. It's not the most conventional use of military funds, sure. Yeah. I mean, forestry to extend the life of a mostly ceremonial boat isn't the #1 thing I assume the US military did, but of the things the US military does, it's actually one of the most palatable. So float on, Old Ironsides, huzzah!
Huzzah.
You know what else is palatable? Home brewed coffee, thanks to this video's sponsor, Trade Coffee.
Okay. We don't need to go into the coffee.
Very, you know, very interesting, and it just makes you wonder, you know, how many other places like that are around. I mean, we've got a replica of the Golden Hind down here. Obviously, Portsmouth have got a couple up there as well.
Yeah, we got HMS Victory and HMS Warrior down in Portsmouth.
So just wonder what sort of interesting sort of things they run into and have to consider when they're restoring and rebuilding those type of things. That's a lot of trees for one. But like I say, it is a lot of trees for one. And imagine when they had hundreds of boats.
Yeah. Yeah, I must admit, there's a lot of trees. I mean,
Yeah.
how much are you going to replace the whole thing? A bit like Trigger's broom again, isn't it?
Yeah.
How
It's
much
the
of
same
the
boat.
original is going to be left?
Yeah, it's just like one little tiny bit right at the top of the mast or something in brass. There you go. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is why the USA Navy really needs this one forest in Indiana. We had no
Cool.
idea. Did you know that? Unless you're from Indiana.
Yeah, you might know it. All right, thank you for joining us today for our reaction. We'll be back tomorrow with another reaction. Big shout out to Amanda. Thanks for all your
Thank you very much.
requests. We'll be back with more. Until
As
then,
always.
bye from me.
Oh, bye from him. Huzzah!
Huzzah! You've gone a bit blurry.
Yeah, I am.
Oh, there you go. Sorted out now.